Hello all. Today we are going to see how to use Content Enricher with JSON message. We will be using this API JSON placeholder. So it has two endpoints. One is for user, which lists all the user details. For example, email, address, company website, phone, etc. And another one is the post. So in the post we have a reference of the user ID and what is the post is about on the title and its body. But as you can see, both of this API only uh, provides the data in the JSON format. So we have to do some manipulation to use standard content enricher. Now here in the integration flow, I have already used a timer to just pull the data using the first endpoint, that is for the users. And then if we go to monitor, you can see we have listed the list of users. Now this particular array format is not supported but a standard JSON to XML converter. So just before passing it to JSON and JSON to XML converter, we can manipulate the structure a bit. So I'm using content modifier for that, and I'm going to use expression. So from here you can see what we have done. Like we have the root tag, then under root we will have a list of user, and then we are using the incoming payload. Now if I use JSON to XML converter, if I use JSON to XML converter and save and deploy it, and then go to monitoring again, we're able to see it was able to convert the JSON to XML structure. Now also need the part where we retrieve the posts. But before doing that, I don't need all the fields that I'm receiving from this API. So I'm using message mapping step to filter out the fields that I don't need. So I already have the XSLT structure handy. I can upload the schema. Review XSLT type, and I can browse to my desktop. This will be this XSLT. I'm going to add that, and now see what is our expected output. So I just need name, username, email, and phone, and location and company. So location is just a city name. So let's change the XSLT bit. So what we need ID. ID will be required because we are going to link based on the ID, users and post, name, username, email address and phone, spine. So it only has this the required fields. So this can be used as a target XSLT. So the little tip, right? If you want to filter a field, you can you can use the same XSLT as a source one also, so that all the fields that are not required will not be passed to the next steps. So as you can see, this particular XSLT only contains the field that we need in the target structure. So and this XSLT I am going to use for both source and target. So if I go to mapping now, and I will say user, so I'm going to use this as a source also and target also. and I'm going to map all the fields. So if I click on this, so it's going to map all the fields if it has the same field name. So you can see all the fields are mapped. Now if I just run this again, we'll say we'll receive less data now because we have filled out some fields. In the monitoring, actually it failed because it is expecting some fields which are not there. Can it produce target? Users queue doesn't have enough values in context. So I'm going to make those fields as optional first. So here I have opened the XSLT and I'm just going to put everywhere mean occurs as 0. So to make everything optional. 0 equals 0. So here you can see there's a warning and said attribute 0 missed code. So obviously the 0 should be inside code. Now if I just go ahead and go to my message mapping, yeah, the changes are reflected. So it's always 0 is to unbounded or 0 is to 1. Now let's deploy it again and see. Okay, in the output it didn't get what we desired. So if you go to message mapping step, you will see there are two root nodes. So this is because of our JSON to XML converter step, which by default adds a root node. So I'm going to delete that node. So here in the JSON to XML converter, and as you can see, it's adding add XML root elements. So I'm going to disable it and now run it again. Now here and now we are in the mapping end step, and we can see here we visit the data. What is it enough data we have? So we have got user 9 and then the last one is user 10. Now let's see in the API. Yeah, so we have only 10 records. It's fine. Then the next step, what we are going to do is to retrieve the post in the same fashion we did it here. So, okay, yeah. So let's do the copy from here, and I'm going to place all these 4 components into another integration process. So I'm dragging this here, okay, and then I'm going to paste all this here. So this is the receiver. So for the time being, before we connect these two flows, let's just put start timer as a trigger for here also. So what we did in the previous integration flow, we are just doing in this doing the same in this integration process also. There's a timer which will do as a trigger. Then we have the request reply. Okay. Can also copy the channel config. Here, copy configuration. and the paste configuration. So instead of user, it will be posts, as you can see from this endpoint, right? Now, as you can see, so here you can write post. So we are changing this part. Again, the JSON to XML converter is same, but we will be having the another XSLT structure, right? So first, just import the XSD using the reference and schema XSD. This is the one post XSD, and you can also use XSD. And it already has, no, this is the user XSD. So let's just open the post one. Yeah. So here also you can also put the mean occurs. Now I have put all the places mean occurs. Now go back to the mapping. Here I'm going to create one with name posts. So source message would be post and target would be post, and we are using the same trick where we have just used the fields that we need in the target structure, and we are using the XSD in both source and target. So in the target, as you remember, our objective is to get the number of post count per user. So I just need the user ID, and the ID I just kept it for reference. So the user ID of post and ID of the user will be linkage between these two integration flows when we'll be using the content enricher. Okay, and then we can also do the end message step first. Now let's run this flow. Okay, I'm in the monitoring now, and as you can see, at the same time, we got two flow messages. So one would be for the user and another would be for the post. So let's see. If I go to the trace once, you're able to see. So this is, you can see for the post one. If I go to the end message, you'll see I have received the post one, and here you can see there is quite a lot of post IDs. And here you can see we have 100 posts. So, and now in the another message, 1 minute. Yeah. So these two are the same messages that got triggered at the same time. So one was for the post, and below one, and the above one was for the user. So go to the trace here, and let's see the payload. So yes. Now the big question is how we can connect this flow and use the content enricher. So here the process direct adapter will come handy. So after this message mapping, you can just use content enricher. This is not working. The change layout. Okay. Anyways, the content enricher. So if I go to the content enricher, which is the main focus of this video, you can see there are two algorithms, right? Let's see the combine first. Okay. Combine means it's not going to look up ID by ID. It will just do a summation of the input message and the lookup message, or I can say the second message. So its first input is this user payload, and the second input will be the post payload, right? So here I can use the process direct adapter, right? And we can say post. And for the second flow, instead of timer or trigger would be the process direct adapter. So let's do that. Okay, this will be a sender, and instead of timer we have to put the start message here, and sender will be connected to start message using a process direct sender, and we have to provide the same address. Right, okay, so let's see, let's just deploy and see what happens. So here again we can see two messages as expected, and if I open the first one, so you can see this is the one with the content enricher. Now if I see the end message, you will see two multi-map message nodes are created. Multi-map message 2, message 1, and multi-map message 2, right? Let's just download this payload and I'll show you how actually it looks like. So I have opened this payload in the browser now, and as you can see, there are two multiple messages, and inside message 1 we have the user details, right? And inside message 2 we have the post details. This is not what we want. So here if you're using the combine, it will just going to create two multi-map tags, but we'll be using enrich instead of combine. So I'm back into the iFlow. Instead of combine, I'll use enrich. So here I have to provide this field detail. So key element is very simple, right? So what is the original message? The original message is the one where you are using the content enricher block, right? And the lookup one message is the one which is connected via this adapter. So for user, our key element is ID, right? So if I just see from here, the ID will be the key element for the users, and path would be, so these tags were created when you used Content Enricher combine method. So before that, you didn't have these tags, right? So it was starting with the root and then users and all the details. So the path would be root / users. Similarly, for the lookup message, let's see. So for the lookup flow, the actual payload starts from root and post, then user ID, then ID. So the key would be the user ID to find the related post for a particular user. And the path would be similar, root instead of user, it would be post, right? Now let's run this. Here I am back in the monitoring again, and as you can see, there are two messages. First one, I believe for the user, right? We have the content enricher step over here. Also, actually, you can rename this integration process as user and post so that when you are looking at the trace, it will be more helpful and we'll be able to understand better. So now this is the one I got. 1 minute. So here, let's download this payload first and I'll show to you what is the result. So I have opened the output payload in the browser and let's look at the flow. So as you can see, let's look at the structure that we have received. So as you can see, there is no multi-map tag. First of all, it starts with root and then users, and inside users we have the tags for post. So here, for example, user 1, and it has all the post tag related to that particular user. As you can see here, there are 10 posts for that particular user, and then we have name, username, email, address, and phone and company, right? So our content enricher worked as expected. Now the last step is to format this structure to our desired structure, which is this one. So the best way to do is, I think, using XSLT mapping, right? What are the differences from this structure? Here you can see we have to pull name and username and email out of this structure, and also the phone number, right? Also the email. So this is the one. But here, instead of city, we'll be replacing that as a location, and that would be the same hierarchy. So we'll not have this address tag and the city tag. Instead, we'll just have the location. Similarly, for the company, if I see, there's a company tag, and then inside there's a tag called name. So we're just going to put company name directly over here, and the name should be the company. And the last and the most important thing is that have the number of posts. So we are not going to have this post tags, we just need the count of post. So let's go back to our integration flow again, and I'm just going to change the iflow name users first, and there also is for post. So when we enable the trace, it will be more easier. And XSLT mapping. So I have already have the XSLT ready. Similarly, I'm going to upload it from the resources. So here I am again in the references tab, and you can just add this, then mapping, then XSLT mapping, and then browse, and this is our XSLT. I'm going to add it, and now I'll show what is the code written for this. So we are doing template match at the root level, and then we are applying the transformation for each user's element. So if match is found, then we are just going to copy as is some of the fields like name, username, email, and phone. Location, we're going to get it from this level, address, then city, and then name, we're going to get from company and name. And to calculate the post, we can just use the count method over the post node, right? And if I run this code, you'll be able to see the output result. And if you're more interested in XSLT, I had some videos in this channel uploaded mainly on focusing on the XSLT. You can have a look at that. So I'm in the back in the integration flow again, and then I'm going to select the resource that I have just uploaded in the iFlow, and I'm going to deploy this. Now I'm in the monitoring screen, and let's open the one. I think the first one is always the user one I saw. Yeah, so this is the user one, and let's see the end result. So here, as you can see, we are getting the count of post. Now one thing you can notice that the count of post is always 10, is because the API you are using, it has fixed the number of users as 10, and the count of post for each user is 10 also. So but in real time, when you are using this logic, it will work if you have a different count for a post for a user. So that's all for this video. Thank you.